Welcome back. Today's talk is titled Clarity is Not Capacity. It can be really difficult to watch someone you love walk into the same wall over and over, like a Roomba stuck in a corner. You can see the pattern, you can see the consequence, you can see the loop repeating in real time. Maybe it's a partner who keeps asking for clarity in the relationship. So you have the big conversation, they cry, they apologize, they seem to understand. They promise this time something will be different. And then 2 days later, they fall back into the exact same pattern. Maybe it's a friend that's in a toxic relationship and everyone but them can see that it's hurting them. Or maybe they can see it briefly, but they still go back. Maybe it's someone with an addiction saying, I'm not drinking anymore, while still going to the same bar with the same people at the same time of night in the same vulnerable emotional state. And you sit there thinking, how did they not see this? Because from your side, it looks pretty obvious. But the important thing to understand is this. Clarity is perception, capacity is readiness. Clarity just means you can see something. Capacity means that your body, nervous system, habits, environment, and emotional structure are actually ready to live from what has been seen. Someone can see the truth for 5 minutes but not have the capacity to rearrange their life around it. They can genuinely mean it in the conversation. They can genuinely cry and say, you're right, you're so right, I need to change, or that, I agree, this can't be a crutch anymore. And then they can still revert. This doesn't always mean they were lying. Sometimes the insight did touch the surface, but the pattern lives much deeper in the system. Someone has that aha moment, and it feels like the door has finally opened. They nod, their body relaxes, they can see the pattern right there in front of them. They admit the truth. And that wound inside you, the one that feels like it needs to be understood in order to be seen, says, yes, finally, we did it, we got through. But what happened may not be true acceptance or integration. It may have been a brief moment of contact, a flash of seeing, a temporary opening. And while those can be real, real does not always mean stable. The person may have touched the truth, but they have not yet built the capacity to stay with it once the fear, shame, craving, defensiveness, or old identity comes back online. That's why somebody can see so clearly at midnight and be completely unconscious again by Monday. They can look at the rose bush. They can recognize it. They can say, yes, I see the thorns. I am not going to let them hurt me again. But that does not mean they are ready to put their hands in the dirt and pull it out by the roots. Seeing the pattern is one thing. Living differently is another. Think about the person that says, I'm done drinking. I haven't had a drink in a week. And then they get invited to go out with their friends and they agree. And they say, yeah, it's fine. I'm just going to go see my friends. I'm not going to have a drink. And maybe in that moment, they mean it. They even believe it. But everyone around them can see the problem. It's a terrible setup. Because even if they think they are past it, the environment is still wired to the old pattern. It's the same dim lights, the same social pressure, the same bartender, the same emotional doorway. It's the same place where this version of them has gone to escape, relax, disappear, or become someone else for a few hours, so many times before. So the issue is not simply, can I choose not to drink? The issue is, you are choosing to sit inside the very architecture of the version of you that does drink. And this is why real change is not just about willpower. It is also about no longer walking yourself back into the rooms, rhythms, people, and pressure that know exactly how to wake the old pattern back up. Because meaning it is not the same thing as having capacity. Someone tells their partner the same thing again and again until they are blue in the face. He nods, he listens. He may even say the right thing. Maybe he gets vulnerable. Maybe he cries. And then like clockwork, he goes right back. Same avoidance, same defensiveness, same disappearing, same emotional unavailability, same refusal to actually change the exact structure you just begged him to address. And at some point, the question is no longer, how do I explain better? The question becomes, am I confusing this momentary understanding with their actual capacity? Because those are two very different things. And for those of us that need to be understood, this is where it can get tricky. When someone cannot receive our clarity, we often assume the problem is in our explanation. Maybe I need to say it better. Maybe I need a better metaphor. Maybe I need to be gentler or more firm. Maybe this is the wrong time. Maybe if I wait for the perfect moment, then it will finally land. And yes, communication matters, tone matters, timing matters. Compassion and precision all matter. But at a certain point, more explanation is no longer communication, it's bargaining. You are trying to use language to create capacity in a person that currently does not have it. And this is where you start donating your own nervous system to someone else's unreadiness. More clarity does not create more capacity. Let me say that again. More clarity does not create more capacity. Sometimes repetition just becomes pressure. You can say the same thing 10 different ways, but if their system is in defense mode, if it feels shamed, addicted, afraid, collapsed, immature, or unavailable, your explanation cannot do the integrating for them. You cannot digest the truth for someone else. You can point to the door. You cannot walk through it with their legs. You cannot make someone feel safe enough to stop choosing it. And this is where we also have to look at ourselves. Because this teacher wound, this over-explainer's mind can feel like compassion. But sometimes it just has control inside. Underneath, I just want them to understand me, there may also be, I need my clarity to matter. I need to be received. I need them to change so I can feel safe. I need them to confirm that I was right. I need truth to win right now. And this does not mean that your clarity is unfounded, but clarity can still get tangled with control. And compassion does not require self-erasure. Love does not require you become someone's unpaid nervous system translator forever. Being able to see someone's wound does not mean you are responsible for healing it. Being able to understand why someone acts the way they do does not mean that you have to keep standing in their blast radius. You can love them. You can understand them. You can have compassion for the exact mechanism that keeps them stuck. But compassion does not mean handing someone access to your peace while they keep refusing reality. The clean alternative is not cruelty, it's clarity with boundaries. Tell the truth once, maybe twice. Tell it cleanly. Tell it without performance. Tell it without needing to win. Tell it without needing them to collapse, agree, apologize, or thank you. And then step back and see what their life does with it. Because reality is also a teacher. And sometimes that's the only teacher someone can hear. This is not punishment. This is not abandonment. This is recognizing that their capacity is not available through your explanation. And maybe the teacher wound will accuse you of being cold for this. If you really love them, you'd explain one more time. If you were just more patient, then they would get it. If you walk away now, you're just abandoning them. But stepping back does not always mean you're abandoning someone. Sometimes it means you are no longer playing a role you were never meant to play. You are not withholding love. You are stopping the attempt to force integration from your side. You are allowing them the dignity of their own consequence. Because the harsh reality is, if you keep trying to save someone from the lesson, you may also be stealing the lesson from them. Your clarity may be real. You may actually be seeing the pattern. You may even be right. But being right does not mean they are ready. Being clear does not mean they have the capacity. And sometimes love means telling the truth, stepping back, and letting reality finish the sentence. So with that said, be kind to yourself, and I'll talk to you again soon.